Progress, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is the gradual betterment or development of humankind. Progress seems to be the end goal for all human development, towards a utopia. Modernity seems to be the result of progress. As we progress towards the gradual betterment of society, we replace the old with the new. For example, the progress for equality and women's rights is seen to be an essential part of our modern system. But are modernity and progress always good? Is replacing the old with the new always the right course of action? Education is seeing a tidal wave of changes in the name of progress. Online learning systems and universities who provide whole majors online are the new norm. But is this progress towards online learning worth replacing our traditional systems? That is the focus of this video essay. We are to answer the following question: does online learning provide a better educational experience? The research question will be defined by the following sub-questions. 1. What benefits or negatives does digital learning have compared to traditional practices? 2. Does online learning provide higher test scores compared to traditional learning standards? And 3. Does online learning make it easier for students to circumnavigate cheating restrictions or generally make it easier for cheating? Let's get into our first question. Question 1. What benefits or negatives does digital learning have compared to traditional practices? To truly understand the comparison between online learning and traditional learning, we must list out its positive and negatives to understand its differences. Using a 2019 paper titled Heads in the Clouds, Pros and Cons of Online Learning, we can extrapolate some of the following benefits and negatives. The benefits of online learning are as the following. Firstly, provides flexibility. Learning is made easier for students to participate and study at their own pace. Secondly, accessibility. Online learning provides education to remote and underserved communities. Thirdly, personalized learning. Online learning can provide personalized education plans to help students develop skills they lack. Lastly, multimedia learning. Online learning provides interactive elements such as games and breakout rooms. Those are some of the positives of online learning. Now let's look at the negatives. The negatives of online learning are as the following. Firstly, lack of interaction. Not being in the same room to interact with peers and instructors is a huge problem. Secondly, technical difficulties. Technical difficulties in an online learning environment can cause whole lectures to derail. Thirdly, reduced motivation. The lack of constant work and accountability causes procrastination and a lack of motivation to study. Lastly, social interaction. Not being in an in-person environment robs students of peer relationships they could have made. Online learning in essence makes learning accessible and interactive. It allows for students across the world to access a quality education. This comes at the cost of a lack of social and educational interaction. Are the trade-offs equal? I don't think so. The mental and social toll on students greatly outweighs the accessibility provided. Further, technical difficulties can make the accessibility argument almost nil, as the access relies on being able to connect to the educational system. The benefits and negatives of online learning gives us a surface-level analysis, but we must dig deeper with our next question. Does online learning provide higher test scores compared to traditional learning standards? Our next question is, does online learning provide higher test scores compared to traditional learning standards? This question is one of the most important ones. Test score metrics can help us understand if online learning is a detriment to students' performance. To provide an answer, we will look at a paper titled Pandemic Schooling Mode and Student Test Scores Evidence from the US States. This case study looked at the standardized test results in 12 US states between students in an online learning environment versus a traditional learning environment. The study found that in spring of 2021, the middle of the pandemic, there was a reduction in student passing scores in standardized tests. There was an average reduction of 14.2% in math scores and 6.3% in English compared to previous years. Further, a lower decline of 4.1% in math and 3.1% in English was seen in students who participated partially in an in-person learning environment during the 2020 to 2021 school year. The result of the study is the following. Online learning does have an adverse effect on students' test scores. The online learning environment provides significant issues with students' participation and learning. A data point not mentioned that highlights this issue was that in the state of Virginia, the pass rate fell as low as 32% in math compared to previous non-online learning environments. The online learning environment puts forward challenges for students. These challenges can poorly reflect on assessments and mental health, but an additional challenge that rises is of integrity. Online learning allows for students in some capacity to take steps that affect their integrity. Our next question will focus on the relation of integrity and cheating to online learning. Our final question is, does online learning make it easier for students to circumnavigate cheating restrictions, or generally make it easier for students to cheat? Online learning was an essential part of pandemic life. Online learning taught students to use many new tools such as Zoom or Teams. These new tools brought with them new ways to cheat. Our final question will focus on an article by the Heshinger Report, which discusses the statistics and examples of cheating conducted during the pandemic. ProctorU, a proctoring service used by many universities, saw pre-pandemic events of cheating as low as 1% in 340,000 administrated exams. But during the pandemic, it conducted 1.3 million exams. Instead of the number of cheaters caught staying the same, the number grew to 8%, pointing to a growing urge to cheat in exams. An alarming example of cheating was a for-hire cheater from Qatar who conducted exams on students' behalves. He reportedly completed at least a dozen exams. Outside of hiring someone to take exams for you, services like Chegg and Course Hero provide whole exams or answers to tests. Instructors at North Carolina State referred 200 of the 800 students in a statistics course for disciplinary action due to these students using tutor-provided answers from Chegg. Engineering faculty at the prestigious Purdue University saw an immense amount of cheating being done by students taking advantage of extra time they were provided on tests. From what we've seen so far, the effects of online learning are limited to test scores and mental health. But the issue of rampant cheating affects all members of society. If a student is to pass an engineering course with the help of cheating, can they really be trusted with the mega projects they are to do? Can statistics students really be trusted with our financial systems? The push to see online learning as the epitome of progress has caused many school systems to adapt sophisticated learning systems that allow students to participate remotely. Yes, those systems have benefits, as we've seen. However, as examples have shown, those systems aren't the shining jewels of modernity that we think they are. Now to answer our initial research question, does online learning provide a better educational experience? I say no. Online learning with all its benefits brings a wave of negatives that flush out any positives that we might have. From the effects on students' mental health and social well-being, to low test scores as compared to before the pandemic and the rampant cheating, online learning is not worth it. Progress and modernity should not always be a process of replacing existing systems just because they're old. Progress should be kept in check to see if what it's replacing on the path to progression is truly for the betterment of society.